Shout out to Hoops Reference. 4 NBA players successfully beating the bust allegations this year. NBA players who aren't busting.
It's hard being a young player in the NBA that isn't quite ready for the physicality
Read that
pace
today
of
at
play
30
the
subs
next
if we get to
level
30 subs.
immediately, because even though it's completely reasonable to need time to develop, they don't always get the appropriate amount of time to do so because patience runs thin pretty quick. With that being said though, these players do have to at least flash some potential early on to get their teams to buy into them in the long term. In today's video, we're going to be discussing 4 players in particular that were teetering on the verge of receiving the bust label due to early struggles in their careers, but have come out this season and proven that not only are they not draft busts, but they're actually becoming really quality players that they were expected to be all along. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but it also very much appreciate it. Now with that being said, let's begin. The first player we'll be discussing today that is finally proving he's not a bust this year is Jalen Suggs of the Orlando.
I thought I was about to say THT, like, who had expectations for THT? Jalen Suggs is a good pick, though. Jalen Suggs is a good pick. Now, I will say, I don't think he was ever drafted to be a star. But his draft was kind of similar to when Marcus Smart got drafted. Like, big-time player out of college. So you would think, going into the NBA, he'd be a star. But it turns out in the NBA, he's just going to be one of the best role players in the league. And I think that's exactly what Jalen Suggs is. Same thing with Marcus Smart. Like, there were some sort of franchise cornerstone expectations for Marcus Smart coming out of the draft, but as his career went along, just because of the situation of the Celtics, like, he just became a role player for us, but a really, really good role player. Jalen Suggs is the same thing. I don't think he's going to be a star for the Magic at all, but he is going to be one of their more important role players. So
Magic.
That's a good pick.
When Suggs was drafted 5th overall in the 2021 draft, he entered the league with a ton of hype, being labeled as the most NBA-ready prospect in that class. He had just helped his Gonzaga team go all the way to the March Madness championship game behind some stellar.
Bro, I seen that. I think in terms of just impressiveness, that buzzer beater he had against Gonzaga, I think. Or did he play for Gonzaga? I already forgot which team he fucking played for. But there was one buzzer beater he hit in March Madness that was like a full court buzzer beater. Bro, that shit was crazy. That shit was crazy.
Two-way play. His competitive drive and natural leadership skills were on full display on the biggest stage, and the Magic were in need of a player who could ignite a winning culture, so it seemed like a perfect fit. The issue, though, was that Suggs just could not get anything going on the offensive end in his first 2 seasons, and he also struggled quite a bit with injuries, which definitely didn't help. As a college player, he admittedly was only ever an average shooter from deep, but he was really good at getting to the basket and finishing in the paint, and was projected to be an under-control floor general type of guard. In his first 2 seasons, though, he looked lost on the offensive end of the floor, not being able to scare defenses with his jumper at all, and then because he couldn't keep defenders honest, it became a lot more difficult for him to get to the basket. His defensive impact was pretty solid at the time still for the most part, but not to the point where it made up for his struggles on the other end. This year, however, Suggs has fully regained the confidence that he had back in his Gonzaga days and is producing like a next-gen Marcus Smart type of player. His energy on defense, hounding the opposing lead ball handler, sets the tone for the rest of the possession, which has been a huge reason for the Magic being a top 3 ranked defense in the league this season. Then offensively, he's actually making defenses respect his jumper, knocking down a respectable 37% of his threes, and that has led to him being way more effective everywhere else. He plays with the type of passion that can be contagious to his teammates, he does the little things a winning team needs from a guard, and his progressing efficiency is helping everything else fall into place for an emerging Orlando team.
I will say, watching the Magic yesterday, though, they definitely need more offensive guard play. If they can find a more table-setting point guard, You know, if they can find a more traditional floor general at that one spot, and it could be Markel, but he just can't get fucking healthy. I think that would be optimal. Cause yesterday their defense was solid. We shot them out the building though. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. It is what it is. But their offense is sus as fuck. Like they just don't have enough shot creation in the half court or enough playmaking. Like they're relying too much on Paolo and Franz to just be players that they're not, at least at this point in their career. Anthony Black could also be that as well. But yeah, that's the weird thing about the Magic is now they actually have some sort of expectations. So some of those dudes that do need a little bit more time, they're gonna need to catch up fast. It's kind of like what the Celtics were in 2020, I guess. 2020. Like I think by 2020 we found, we had expectations to go deep in the playoffs, but the dudes that needed to step up, just from an age perspective, just wasn't there. So.
The next player that has been beating the bust allegations this season is Obi Toppin of the Indiana Pacers. Toppin was originally drafted 8th overall by the New York Knicks back in 2020, but from the jump, it was never really a good fit for him. Their best player even at the time was Julius Randle, who plays the same position as Toppin, and after some murmurs about the Knicks potentially trading Randle at the...
I remember Obi Toppin being a bad pick for the New York Knicks, because of the fact that they had Julius Randle. I never thought that Obi Toppin was because to me, even if we're going off that bust potential type of argument, bust based off of potential type of argument, like Obi's expectations just were never like that. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't say Obi. I wouldn't count Obi in this pick. I wouldn't count Obi in this video.
The time, his impending breakout season happened during Toppin's rookie year, so that never came into fruition. Thus, Toppin's role was never fully fleshed out in the rotation, and the skill set that he provided
I'm glad he found a home though in Indiana.
Really match
like
the game plan of how the Knicks like to play,
since
Toppin dazzled in college in a fast-paced, up-tempo dynamic, getting out in transition, and using his impressive athletic tools to generate easy buckets at the rim, but the Knicks literally played with the slowest pace in the NBA that year, preferring to slow things down and operate out of half-court sets.
That's kind of crazy.
Toppin's minutes fluctuated a ton in his 3 seasons there. He was oftentimes relegated to being a spot-up shooter despite barely being an average shooter, and if I'm being completely honest, I don't think it would have ever made it very far in his career if he stayed in New York. So when the team traded him to Indiana this offseason, it was probably the best thing that could have possibly happened to him. He's now on the team that plays at the fastest pace in the NBA. The Pacers love to get out in transition and hunt for quick, easy baskets, and his explosive athleticism, work as a cutter, and overall scoring talent is being more properly utilized. Last season, Toppin shot just 45% from the field, which for a forward isn't that great. This season, though, he's shooting an incredible 61% from the field, leading the NBA in two-point field goal percentage as well, making 78% of his...
Yo, who do you think the Knicks should have picked that year? I don't know who was after him off the top of my head, but like looking back at that 8 slot, okay, y'all shouldn't have picked Obi. Who should y'all have picked? There might have been an obvious one looking back, but
2-point shots, and he's scoring a career-high 13 points.
Oh, damn, that's tough. And now they're on the same team. That's tough, MRF. That's tough right there.
Points per game, which can be directly attributed to playing in a fast-paced environment alongside a playmaker like Tyrese Halliburton. The next player putting the bust label behind him this year is Coby White of the Chicago Bulls. Now, I'll admit, White was never necessarily on the verge of falling victim to being a full-on bust like some of the others on this list, but his career was definitely trending in the wrong direction heading into this season. He was drafted 7th overall back in the 2019 draft to a Bulls team that was still rebuilding, and in his first 2 seasons, he was showing promising potential as a scorer.
Yeah, I was pretty high. I was pretty high on Coby White, man. No cap. I was pretty high on Kobe White going into his draft. I think what Tyrese Maxey is right now, that's what I thought Kobe White could be, you know? But just didn't pan out.
Scoring talent, despite typical inconsistencies that come from the play of young guards. But then in 2021, a noticeable shift happened that kind of pushed White to the side. That was the year that the Bulls made it back to the playoffs after the addition of DeMar DeRozan, and White was actually shooting the ball more efficiently that year, but his
I did tour UNC Chapel Hill though when I was applying for colleges, just cause that year my parents moved to North Carolina, so I was just in the area. I was like, fuck it. Let's tour UNC Chapel Hill. I didn't know personally that they favored North Carolina students so much. It's kind of unfair. Like, damn, 80% of your student body's from NC. Like, fuck, man. How can I get in from being out of state? But
overall scoring output went down from 15 points per game to about 12 per game. Then
and I was already getting fucked with out of state tuition. Like, jeez. So not only are you gonna make it hard for me to get into the college, but even when I get in, like, damn, should have checked in with Doc.
Last season, White's production continued to dip even further, scoring fewer than 10 points per game, and he entered this year under some pressure to turn things around fast. With Zach LaVine out due to injury and the Bulls seeming to be on the verge of imminent implosion, he's been getting his chance to show what he can do, and he's been making the absolute most of his opportunity, showing the Bulls that he should definitely be a part of their long-term plans.
Oh, that's where I disagree. That is where I disagree. I think, Kobe White has gotten his stock up. We're looking to blow the team up. Blow it up. If we're going to blow it up, let's blow it up. Let's trade Kobe White. Let's trade Zach LaVine. Let's trade DeMar DeRozan. Let's trade everyone, because no one on this team is a part of our future. We need to hit that reset button as hard as we can hit it. And with Kobe White actually having value right now, can we get 2 first-round draft picks out of Kobe White? Can we get, some other young player that has a little bit more potential than Kobe White? I'm trading Kobe White. This is... Nah, I'm not keeping him.
On the season as a whole, he's averaging a career-high 17 points per game, shooting an incredible 43% from 3 on the highest volume of attempts of his career, which is already impressive.
Yeah,
but when you look even further, it gets
but
even better. Since LaVine's injury, he's been averaging a whopping 26.
Kobe White got his buckets now. They can get some picks for... Yeah, no, I'm good, man. Now I'm keeping Kobe. You need some young, up-and-coming guys. If I'm Chicago, I'm packing his bags for him.
Points per game.
Yo, shout out to Declan and Maratara for the first time chat.
Shooting absolutely lights out, making 51% of his shots and 53% of his threes. When you're thrust into a go-to role, your scoring output should always increase unless your name is Jordan Poole, but the fact that he's...
I'll say this. If they want to keep Kobe White, that's fine. But if Kobe White is going to be the thing that breaks certain deals for you, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. Like, if a team wanted Kobe White for a hell of a package, but you're so high on Kobe White that you don't want to trade Kobe White, nah, I'm giving him up. Too quick to give up on young players. That's what's wrong with the league. Is for the Bulls specifically, that's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about. The reason why I think they should give up on Kobe White has nothing to do with age. It has something to do with DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. It has something to do with the fact that, they tried something with this core. Let's blow it up. And to me, if we're just going to blow it up, let's not half-ass it. That's all I'm saying. But if they end up keeping Kobe White, I'm not going to be like, they made such a mistake. Because I really do think the 3 people that just need to be offloaded is DeMar, is Zach LaVine, and Vucevic. If they want to keep Kobe White, I wouldn't be too mad. But me personally, I would just trade him at that point. But
he's even more efficient in this role is enough to inspire confidence that he could be a damn good scorer in the league for years to come, after a few down seasons in a row prior to this. And finally, the last player we'll be discussing that
Jaylen
has put to
Johnson.
rest all of the bust allegations is Jaylen Johnson of the Atlanta Hawks. Johnson wasn't a lottery pick like the other players discussed, but he was taken in the middle of the first round in 2021, still expected to develop into a solid two-way wing. His rookie season was spent mostly in the G League, only playing in a handful of NBA games. Then, in the offseason after his rookie year, he got a procedure done on his knee to address tendinitis issues, which may have had something to do with the fact that he then struggled the following season.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I've never heard Jaylen Johnson hype. You know what I'm saying? So I would even include Jaylen Johnson on this list.
When he was getting more NBA minutes off the bench. Through 2 seasons, he really hadn't shown much to lead anyone to believe that he could be a difference maker at the NBA level, but this season, he looks healthier and more confident.
You know, it'd be it'll be a reach in this discussion, but based off of expectations, Cat was getting there to me. I ain't gonna lie, bro. Cat was getting there to me. I'm glad he had a bounce back season, but based off of what Cat was supposed to be and the trajectory his career seemed like it was heading in, and the lack of respect he was getting from everyone in the league, I thought it was over for Cat. So shout out to Cat. Shout out to Cat. That'd be a reach though, to be honest with you, but.
Than ever, and has even snagged the Hawks' starting small forward job because of how well he was playing. Johnson went from a 5-point scorer last season to averaging 14 points this year, shooting 59% from the field and 42% from 3. Johnson's knee being back healthy has been huge for his effectiveness because he is an incredibly bouncy athlete who soars around the rim for high-flying finishes as a cutter and slasher, and the fact that his 3-ball has been falling as consistently as it has opens things up even more for him. Defensively, he's also been one of the few bright spots on a Hawks team that struggles on that end of the floor, as a wing player that can switch onto multiple different positions and use his length and mobility to hold his own. When John Collins got traded away, the Hawks needed someone to step up, and Johnson has made the most of it and isn't looking back. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video.
Shout out the Hoops reference, but I do want to look at some of these past recent drafts to see if we can find some other names that he didn't mention. I feel like, let's see, everything from, god damn, 2020 NBA draft, 2020 NBA draft, basketball reference, boom. Killian Hayes? Nah, Killian Hayes is still bad, man. Killian Hayes is still bad. He's gotten better. He's definitely having a career year. But come on, man. If this is the career year, nah. Nah, I'm good. No. Let's see who else. Let's see who else is proving people wrong. Not Patrick Williams. Well, let me see what Pat Will is doing. Yeah, not Pat Will. Pat Will is headed in the other direction, if anything. Not James Wiseman. Let's see, 2021. Let's see what's on 2021. Ooh, Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes is interesting. Because he had a John Morant second year where a lot of people expected growth from Scotty Barnes, but he kind of stagnated and, if not, regressed statistically. Like 15.3 remained at 15.3. Mind you, same minutes damn near. The rebounds went down, the assists went up, but block steals did not progress at all. So his efficiency went down across the board aside from his free throw percentage. So I was one of the dudes even saying like, man, I ain't gonna lie, Scotty's cool, but he's not what a lot of people think he is. He's not this. He might be like a number 3 option on the championship team, but I'm not too high on this dude being a franchise cornerstone. This season so far definitely made strides in the right direction. 29-6. Career highs across the board in damn near every single fucking category. aside from free throw percentage, I guess. But shout out to Scotty Barnes. I definitely put him in that discussion. I've been waiting for Kuminga just to have that breakout season. He still hasn't really been having it. And if this is the breakout season, then I guess. Let's see who else. Let's move on. 2022. Jabari. Shout out to Jabari. His rookie, again, I do want to give him grace because he was 19. But from what I saw his rookie season, and, you know, this is the thing, like, even with the take that I had earlier, I'm not going to act like I haven't been a victim to my own, this dude just ain't it type take. I was not high on Jabari Smith going into that draft. I was not high on him in his rookie season. But I've been watching a decent amount of Rockets game this year. I like Jabari's game, bro. I like Jabari's game. I'm not going to lie. I think his defensive upside, too, is pretty damn high. But I like Jabari's game. I put Jabari in that category. Who else were people were high on, then they didn't pan out, then everyone was like, and then they proved people wrong in the last 3 drafts? That might be it. Because, I mean, if you want to count Chet, I guess, but that's definitely kind of a reach. Because Chet did have questions going into his rookie season. And, you know, the whole lanky conversation, dude doesn't have enough weight type shit. How is that going to translate to the league? And he definitely shut up all those things. All those discussions going into the season. But Keegan Murray, yeah. Keegan, Keegan Murray definitely had a great rookie season. But the way Keegan Murray started off the season was not as hard as y'all think it is. I know he exploded last game, and looking at it right now, he's definitely picked it up over the last 4 or 5 games. But yo, a lot of Kings fans were on Keegan Murray's ass in like his first 14 games. Like these were his first 14 games. This is not a good start to the season. He's really only started picking it up in the last 6. And yeah, in the last 6 he's been going crazy. So shout out to Keegan Murray.